and welcome to The Watchman. Well, this is our first episode, our inaugural show, and we're going to get right down to business. We're joined this week by Texas Congressman Louie Gohmert to discuss the Obama administration's disastrous moves in the Middle East. And we're going to take you to the region for an on-the-ground report from CBN's Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell on the latest out of Egypt and Syria, two hotspots. We're also going to take an in-depth look at how a Muslim Brotherhood connected group with ties to terror is advising the Obama White House. How nice. It's a story you will not see anywhere else. Trust me, if you like Stakelbeck on Terror, my previous CBN show, you are going to love The Watchman. Folks, I felt that it was time for me to take things to another level. Time is short and it's getting shorter. Our country is at a crossroads. Israel is in the crosshairs. And the world is on fire with war, revolution, and terror. It's a world turned upside down. Things that are good are now considered evil, and things that are evil are considered good. Ladies and gentlemen, these are perilous times, and people are worried about their finances, their families, their futures. They're looking for answers. With this show, we're going to not only warn you and sound the alarm about the threats gathering at our doorstep, we're going to provide you with answers, with encouragement, with hope. I can give you a million things we can do to take our country back on a practical level. But at the end of the day, God is the answer to getting this thing turned around. Bottom line, if as a nation we continue to shake our fist at God and refuse to humble ourselves after He's blessed us with so much, folks, we're done. History tells the tale on that count. Look, this is no time to mince words. The barbarians are not just at the gates, they're inside them, as you'll learn on today's show. I've studied America's enemies for well over a decade. I've interviewed Islamic terrorists face to face. I've been inside radical mosques and traveled the globe talking to world leaders and investigating the threats posed by radical Islam and the radical left to our civilization. So, here's a question for you. 12 years after 9/11, after all the blood and treasure we've invested in the war on terror, what do we have to show for it? Think about it. Now, I know that President Obama likes to say that Al-Qaeda is on the run and nearing defeat, but his boasts could not be further from the truth. And he knows that. He knows that Al-Qaeda and its allies and affiliates now cover more geographical ground today than they did on 9/11. From Pakistan and Iraq to Syria, Yemen, Somalia, Libya, North Africa, Sinai, Nigeria, Algeria, and on to Europe, the list goes on and on. At the same time, Al-Qaeda's ideology has inspired a generation of young followers here in the West. Think about all the damage that two young Islamic jihadists caused in Boston last April. Then there's the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, Iran. The mullahs are this close to developing nuclear weapons that they will use not only against Israel, but against America. And along with its well-armed proxy, Hezbollah, the Iranian regime is spreading its influence throughout Latin America at our very doorstep. And as for the Muslim Brotherhood, the granddaddy of all Islamic terrorist groups, they may be down in Egypt right now, but they're anything but out. The Brotherhood has affiliates in some 70 countries worldwide, including here in America, where, as you'll see in a few minutes, they even have the ear of the White House. In the meantime, we are on the run in the Middle East, folks. The Obama administration is closing down embassies, farming out our Syria policy to Putin's Russia, and covering up what really went down in Benghazi. Oh, and the Obamis have thrown our ally Israel under the bus at every turn, embracing Islamists and isolating our allies. Welcome to America, circa 2013. I don't know about you, but I think the time is right for a show like this that pulls no punches, takes no prisoners, and tells it like it is from a Judeo-Christian biblical perspective. Speaking of pulling no punches, One of my favorite men on Capitol Hill is Texas Congressman Louie Gohmert. He is a voice of strength and clarity, and one of an elite few in Congress who understands the Islamist threat. I spoke to him recently about Egypt, Syria, and the Obama foreign policy debacle. Take a look. Congressman, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, and thanks for your book. Thanks for all your great work. You really understand what's going on.
Thank you, Congressman. Well, it's so great to have you on the show to really get the truth about what's going on right now with our foreign policy, or should I say what's going wrong with our foreign policy right now. You just returned from a trip to the Middle East. You were in Egypt with Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann and a few others. What did you learn in Egypt, Congressman? What's the situation there right now? Is the Muslim Brotherhood, the jihadist threat, is it under control right now? Does the Egyptian military have a handle on it?
Well, they do have a handle on it, but there are and have been and probably will be eruptions by the Muslim Brotherhood using violence in Egypt. And in talking with al-Sisi, I had to ask him about something that I had heard from a former CIA agent who had plenty of amazing contacts, but he said that he was familiar with who was involved, that Morsi had contacted after al-Sisi had said, look, here's the constitutional changes that have to be made where you start acting appropriately within the next 7 days. And instead of doing the appropriate thing, I was told that he contacted somebody about putting a hit out on the head of the military, General al-Sisi. So I asked General al-Sisi, I said, is it true that before Morsi was actually removed, that you had evidence that not only was he not going to act constitutionally, but he was putting out a hit to have you murdered? And he was reluctant and he wouldn't say and beat around the bush. And I said, I'm asking you if you had evidence of that. And he finally said yes. Now that hadn't been in the press anywhere. The Egyptian people are sick of CNN because they keep calling it a coup. They keep talking about the thousands of Muslim brothers that want their government back, and they refuse to talk about the millions and millions of Egyptians who come forward and said, this is our country. We want a democracy.
You know, Congressman, like you said, look, the Egyptian people have spoken, yet our administration and many in the mainstream press seem to be still backing the Muslim Brotherhood in many ways and condemning the Egyptian military. Some on Capitol Hill have called for a halt to aid to the Egyptian military. What did some of the officials in the Middle East think about that when you were over there?
They said that it is really hurting the United States' reputation within Egypt among the millions and millions and millions of people, far more than allegedly voted for Morsi, because they don't understand, wait a minute, America, you know, this administration had been supporting Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood, basically threw Mubarak under the bus. They were okay with that, but they don't understand it. And I tell you, one of the most telling banners that we have a blow-up picture of, I've used on the House floor, on the right half, you see the American flag with a green check mark. And on the left half, you see a picture of our president with a red X through it. And the message they keep trying to make clear is, look, we love America. We love Americans loving freedom and peace. But we do not appreciate your president continuing to support the Muslim Brotherhood over the will of the vast majority of Egyptian people.
To me, it's a sad day for America, Congressman, where we are on the side of the bad guys. Congressman, last question. Syria, we've basically farmed out our Syria policy right now to Putin's Russia, but I personally was against any intervention in Syria. I didn't see any strategic interest there. I saw jihadists fighting jihadists. Real quick, what's your take on Syria overall?
Well, that's exactly what it was. You have Shia, Hezbollah, Iran on the Assad side, and then on the other side you have Muslim Brotherhood, you have Al-Qaeda, you have the worst of the worst in the rebels. Now, there were some moderate rebels that perhaps 2 years ago we could have helped, but at this time, weapons are falling into the hands of the radicals. It is a huge mistake.
Congressman Louie Gohmert, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, and thanks for digging so deep, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up, we go on the ground to the Middle East with our CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell for the latest on Egypt and Syria. Don't move.
Today we're on a field trip to discover what inflation is doing to our paper money. In this hand is a $20 bill and in this hand is a $20 US gold coin. They used to have the same buying power, but how much can they buy today? In this first basket is what my $20 bill buys: milk, bread, peanut butter, and jelly. And here's what one $20 gold coin will buy: 6 baskets full, worth nearly $2,000, almost 100 times more food, simply by owning gold dollars instead of paper dollars. History shows that the gold coins have been the best way to beat the rising cost of living. So class, the moral is that unless you want to live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the future, you should turn some paper dollars into gold coins now. How and why is explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. Call the number below for a totally free copy. And that's the simple truth.
Help!
If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was. Help! And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
And welcome back. We're joined now by CBN's Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, host of the Jerusalem Dateline show. Chris, it's great to have you.
Hey, great to be with you, Eric.
I want to talk to you today about Egypt and about Syria, but you were on the ground in Egypt in some of the hot spots where Christians are being persecuted. What did you take from that Egypt trip, Chris? What did you see there? What's the situation on the ground right there, right now, especially for Christians?
Well, for Christians right now, it's pretty tough time. And as you said, Eric, we were down in a place called Minya, Egypt, and that was the place where, in the middle of August, was hit the hardest by the Muslim Brotherhood and by pro-Morsi supporters. All in all, I think there are about 80 churches and ministries that have been affected by this. We were in a church called the Amir Tadros Church. It's 100 years old, and it was completely gutted. What they did is they came in, they set fire, gasoline fires all over the place, just to make sure that the whole church was going to be destroyed. Just down the street, Eric, we saw an orphanage. It was a Coptic Christian orphanage called Christ Soldiers that housed 200 children, and that was destroyed as well. But you know, the other thing, we saw two things, Eric. We saw destruction and we saw inspiring stories, because on the outside of that orphanage, this Christ Soldiers orphanage, they wrote these words after the whole orphanage was destroyed, and it said, "Love your enemies. You meant to hurt us, but we forgive you. God is love, and all things work together for good." So that's just an example of how the Christians are responding to this unprecedented persecution.
Chris, shifting gears a bit up to Syria now. Here in the U.S., We've had this big debate about possibly striking against the Assad regime. What's the view in Israel right now of the Syria crisis? The Israeli government has really kind of kept it close to the vest, haven't really taken a side in that Syria conflict. But from what you're hearing on the ground, Chris, what's the general view in Israel of what's going on to their north in Syria?
I think the main thing, Eric, first of all, they'd love to see the chemical weapons destroyed and taken away. That'd be one less weapon that Israel would have to worry about. Whether or not that happens is another big question. There's a report today that some of those chemical weapons are making their way to Iraq. But as you said, Israel is playing it quite close to the vest. They are coming out a little more about this Russian-U.S. agreement. But I think the big thing for Israel, Eric, is the fact that they want no one to take their eye off the ball. And what they mean by that is they don't want to lose sight of what's happening in Iran. Iran they see as the big weapon that they need to face, this nuclear program that Iran keeps doing. So they think that's the big issue that Israel and the West and the U.S. need to face.
Yeah, it feels like we are approaching that moment of reckoning, Chris, with Iran's nuclear weapons program. Chris, before you go, we have about a minute left. I have to ask you about your new book, Dateline Jerusalem. Chris, tell us about the new book released September 17th, available wherever books are sold. Give us a little info on your new book.
Well, Eric, 2,000 years ago, all roads led to Rome. Now, 2,000 years later, all roads are leading to Jerusalem. Whether it's the Arab Spring or it's the evangelism going back to Jerusalem, it seems like history's final chapter is going to be written in Jerusalem, which is just behind me right now. And it seems like history's trends are converging on here. Whether it's the Muslim Brotherhood that wants to make Jerusalem the capital of a caliphate, whether it's people praying like never before for the city of Jerusalem, whether or not it's evangelism that's coming back here, or Aliyah, Jews coming back to the land and making Jerusalem their home. Everything seems to be converging on this city. And that's what I've been writing about, and that's the whole sort of issue about behind the book, Dateline Jerusalem.
I've read the book. I was lucky enough to get an advance copy. Chris, I can't recommend it to our viewers highly enough. It is a riveting read, so pick it up. Dateline Jerusalem, the new book by Chris Mitchell. Chris, thanks so much. We'll be talking to you again very soon. God bless, my friend.
God bless you, Eric. Great to be with you.
Up next, the Muslim Brotherhood in the White House? You won't want to miss this exclusive report after the break. Stay tuned.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need, just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions, just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card, just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
And welcome back. Well, the Muslim Brotherhood is on the ropes right now in Egypt as the Egyptian military cracks down on this terrorist movement. But here in America, it's a different story. One group with links to the Muslim Brotherhood even has the ear of the White House. You won't believe this one. Take a look. Before President Obama departed for Israel earlier this year, he took time to consult with Mohammed Majid. Majid has reportedly become a trusted administration advisor on issues ranging from immigration to counterterrorism policy. White House officials have praised Majid's organization, the Islamic Society of North America, or ISNA, as a pillar of the American Muslim community. But according to one analyst, ISNA's agenda is anything but mainstream.
We also know from the Muslim Brotherhood's own documents that this is a Muslim Brotherhood front, where they state it explicitly in one of their 1991 secret memos.
Ryan Morrow works for the Clarion Project, an organization dedicated to exposing radical Islam. He told CBN News that internal Muslim Brotherhood documents captured by the FBI, name ISNA as one of 29 American Muslim organizations with ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. The Brotherhood gave birth to both Al-Qaeda and Hamas.
It's also easy to tell what the Brotherhood's agenda is because they've told us in their own documents, which is they've said that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within. And most importantly, they say they want to do it at the hands not just of the believers, the Muslim Brotherhood supporters, but at the hands of the unbelievers, us.
ISNA began in 1982 in Plainfield, Indiana. A founding member, Sami Al-Arian, was convicted in a U.S. federal court of conspiring to support the terror group Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Abdurrahman Alamoudi also worked closely with ISNA for years. He's currently serving a federal prison sentence for funding Al-Qaeda. Despite its radical roots, ISNA has expanded from its heartland base to the power corridors of Washington, D.C.
The remarkable thing is many of these founders who've been implicated in terrorism cases, named as unindicted co-conspirators in terrorism cases, are now consulting with the Obama administration.
Investigative journalist Patrick Poole says ISNA's founders were even given a tour of the White House in March 2013.
When it was closed off to the American public, they were meeting with senior White House officials, including the head of the Office of Public Engagement, who said that ISNA was the primary Islamic group that the White House does their Muslim outreach through.
It wasn't long ago that the U.S. government had a far less positive view of ISNA. In 2007, federal prosecutors named the group as an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest terrorism financing trial in American history. The focus of that trial was an organization called the Holy Land Foundation. Its leaders were convicted of funding the terror group Hamas.
The Holy Land Foundation was spun off of ISNA, and here we have the United States government going into federal court saying these are bad guys, they're supporting terrorism, they're a front for the Muslim Brotherhood, and then as soon as they leave federal court, these are our outreach partners.
That outreach includes a role for ISNA in shaping America's counterterrorism policies. ISNA President Mohammed Majid is a member of a Homeland Security Working Group on, quote, violent extremism. ISNA also participated in a 2012 review of FBI counterterrorism training documents. The Bureau agreed to purge documents that ISNA and other Muslim groups found offensive or Islamophobic. Poole says the fox is guarding the henhouse.
We see a repeated pattern from FBI reports, from Department of Justice evidence in these terrorism trials, that groups like ISNA and their Muslim Brotherhood fronts, they're here to Islamicize America.
ISNA did not respond to CBN News' request for comment. As for the Obama administration, its relationship with ISNA continues. Earlier this month, ISNA officials met with Secretary of State John Kerry to discuss the latest attempt at peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians.
The White House is not embarrassed about this relationship. They publicly brag about the relationship and the fact that they're going to continue it.
Coming up, some final thoughts and some answers for what we're up against. Stick around. They're the original Islamic terrorist group. They spawned Al-Qaeda and Hamas. They're America's next great enemy, and they're in your backyard. If you want to understand the war on terror, you must first understand the Muslim Brotherhood. Pick up my new book, The Brotherhood, America's Next Great Enemy. Available at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold from coast to coast.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road? Then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new GripGo, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and GripGo grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of GripGo. You can get the amazing GripGo with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete GripGo systems for just $14.95.
To order GripGo for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
Jim is 38. mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
So it's answer time here on The Watchman. We're going to do this every week. This week, we took a look at what's going on in the Middle East, how Egypt, Syria are on fire, and we also examined Muslim Brotherhood influence inside our government. First, let's talk about the Middle East. Number one, we should back the Egyptian military. Folks, the Egyptian military right now is battling the Muslim Brotherhood, an Islamic terrorist group that is dedicated to the destruction of America. I think we should have their back, and the Egyptian military also is keeping the peace treaty with Israel. The Muslim Brotherhood should be designated, folks, as a foreign terrorist organization, bar none. The Obama administration should do it. They will not do it, but that's what should happen. This is a terrorist organization. The Muslim Brotherhood has shown their true face over the past few months, burning Christian churches to the ground and calling for jihad against America and against the Egyptian military. In Syria, stay out. On one side, we have Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood. On the other side, we have Iran, Hezbollah, and the Assad regime. All bad guys, all enemies of America, a bloody civil war, and they're killing each other. We have no strategic interest there. Stay out. When it comes to the Muslim Brotherhood, here in America, look, the Obama administration's relationship with Muslim Brotherhood-linked groups, as you saw on today's show, is extremely problematic, and it's growing, not lessening. What we should do, folks, with these Muslim Brotherhood-connected groups here in America is ban them. And I know that may shock some people, but these are seditious groups. Their very documents, as we showed today, call for the destruction of Western civilization. Their agenda is fundamentally incompatible with the U.S. Constitution. This is the equivalent of during the Cold War having Soviet agents, during World War II having Nazi agents dedicated to bringing down America from within. These groups have no place in an American democracy. Thanks for joining us for the inaugural episode of The Watchman with Erick Stakelbeck. We hope you come back every week for more on-the-ground reporting, commentary, perspective on what's going on in the Middle East, right here in America, and how it affects you at home. Until next time, God bless you, and remember, never hold your peace.